Alright, welcome back to another Adventures in Gaming. This time we're going to be playing Medieval Dynasty again. So, where we last left off was we were working on building our village. You can see we built here. There's other villages around, and we have received some quests. One of the things that I think is important to note is that there are a few types of quests. The chapter quests are quests that advance the game in that it allows you to build more things or have access to more things. The story quests, on the other hand, are not strictly speaking necessary. They also, see here, years left. You have lots and lots of time to do these stories. So they are not at all vital to the game. Also, eagle-eyed viewers may notice that the interface looks a little bit different. I switched from playing on the Xbox to playing on the PC. It's just a little bit easier to record, and in some ways I think the interface is just a little bit better. So here, you can see we're trying to build a resource storage. But as a reminder, one of the things that we need to work on is we need to have access to food and other resources before it gets to be winter. So there are 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Winter, nothing grows, and it's obviously cold. You use more wood, and so you need to make sure you have a stockpile of food. You can see right now we don't have a ton of food, and so we need to work on that. But we also need a place to put it. And one of the things that we do is, as we build, we get access to more and more buildings. So we have to build things in order to sort of get better. So the first little bit of the game is a mixture of building, hunting, doing some quests, and trying to figure out what you want to do in the game. One thing I'm going to do is ignore some of the story quests because they're not, strictly speaking, necessary. Alright, but one thing we have to do is complete some quests for neighbors and successfully flirt. I would say that it's a good thing this is a video game, not real life, because it would take quite a long time to successfully flirt if I was trying to do this in real life. Some people may know this, but most probably don't, that when I met my wife for the first time, let's just say she came away thinking I was the worst person in the world. Not my finest hour. I wouldn't recommend going with that approach. It worked out, but not on purpose. I was just being my typical surly, stupid self. Fortunately for me, I grew up. Also, fortunately for me, Lisa sort of thought that I needed fixing. I mean, she was right. But also, fortunately, I was wise enough to realize being an asshole is no way to go through life. So I fixed myself. And I would say it's worked out pretty well so far, since I think our marriage is pretty good. I'm obviously wildly biased, but, you know, that's okay. All right, so what I'm doing here is I found some empty sacks, or I say empty, they're empty now. I found some sacks, and that's how you can sometimes get access to more advanced things than you have the capability of making. It's sort of a little bonus that the makers of the game kind of throw at you, which can just jumpstart a few things. It's kind of nice. So what I'm trying to do here is we're trying to find some quests. So these little exclamation points, if you've ever played a video game in your life, you will know that exclamation points mean... So there's sometimes these weird glitches. So the bugs sometimes make me laugh. All right. He's a farmer. He does the same every day, year over year. And I like how my character is basically like, "Ah, your life is awful. Oh, I'm sorry. It didn't mean to offend you." Okay, so basically, I'm not going to do this whole quest line because...
Greetings, stranger.
Alright, so let's see what these quests are. Mouths to feed. 4 meat. What do I got? Do I have 4 meat? I do have 4 meat. Look at that. Got some money. Also, one thing I've learned in this game is that everything costs a lot more money than... Sure thing. Building hammer. Everything costs tons of money. And the economics is really strange. So I have, let's see, 165 monetary units. And let's see if I can find something. Here we go. Oops, wrong side.
How are you? Whatever you need.
So notice that, for example, a single seedling, 270. Now, anyone that follows me on Twitter or knows me in real life knows that I do a lot of gardening. My wife and I have a fair number of fruit trees. We have bought our fair share of apple tree seedlings. That is not even in the ballpark of what it costs. It's just bizarrely expensive. So anyway, the economics are a little bit weird. Like a single piece of grain is 7.5. To use the Bluey terminology, dollary dues. At least I think that's what they use. That's a tangent, but if you have kids, and odds are if you're watching a middle-aged guy like me play video games, there's a chance you have kids. Bluey is perhaps the greatest TV show in the history of the world for children. Just full stop, unambiguously recommending it. Oh, flirting. Much like in real life, I walked right by all the women and didn't even talk to them. Okay, so fortunately,
How can I help you?
flirting is as easy as romance. You seem interesting. Oh, look at that. Her affection has changed.
Have a good day.
So one of the goals, ultimately, is you need to find a wife. Because part of the game is you want to find an heir, or find an heir, produce an heir, I suppose is more technically correct. And anyway, that's sort of the romance is one of the mechanics in the game. Oh, wait, yeah, okay. So, as you can see now, the next goal is to build a hunting lodge. And that will let you, among other things, dry meat, which is great because then it lasts longer. So what I'm going to try to do is do a little bit of hunting. Oh, first I need to drink. These berry bushes always make me feel a little jealous because the blueberry bushes that Lisa and I planted have not yet produced any blueberries. Last year, we think it was a rabbit, but it honestly could have been anything, got to it and basically ate almost the entire bush. Fortunately, they came back, but they are now tiny little spindly things that will probably be another year or two before they're in a position to actually produce anything. So the game just makes me feel a little bit jealous, but that's okay. All right. Oh, I don't have any logs. Okay. All right, so whatever I find, I have to hit it because I think I got one shot left with a spear. So we want to find an animal. Hmm. Now, I don't have the thing right now to hunt a boar or a fox, so I'm not trying to do that. All I'm trying to do is... Gaha, what is that? Oh wait, there's a bunny. Come on, little guy. Great, we got him. The bizarre ragdoll physics of the game are not great. You'll see that sometimes animals twitch and things when they fall because, I don't know, the engine has issues. One of the things that I thought was interesting the other day, I was talking to my 13-year-old daughter, the same one, by the way, who walked in on me playing Overwatch for the first time and tried to teach me how to play. If you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend it. If I remember, I'll put a link to the video in the description of this video just so you can take a look at it. But it was, I think, entertaining, mostly because it's a 13-year-old who knows what she's doing, talking in an exasperated tone to her dad, who clearly doesn't know what he's doing. And I died a lot, but she was very patient with me because she's pretty great. But anyway, I was talking to her the other day, joking that I probably would not be, this video would not be very appealing to children, like teenagers. And she commented that that was probably true. So she did not try to make me feel better, which is great. But one thing she said was that, kids her age like to watch video games, YouTubers who are popular, funny, and swear a lot. So I'm 0 for 3 on those, at least in the videos. I try not to swear in these videos much, if at all. And I'm not very popular. And although the jury's still out, I suspect not very funny. So, not. I don't expect too many kids to be watching this. But if you are a kid and you are watching this, great, welcome. And I'm proud of you. And I say that because, well, I think every kid should have adults tell them that they're proud of them. So I don't know who you are. I don't know what you've done. But I suspect strongly that if I said, hey, you've done something to be proud of, something just jumped into your head right now. So whatever that is, great. I'm proud of you for that. So now that reminds me, I guess, a little bit, one of the reasons that I believe that way. And here I'm just, for now, putting these gardening-related things in my storage until I can finish the other storage thing. So what I'm going to be doing is trying to build this, so I need to get a bunch of wood and things. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So anyway, one of the things that when I was a kid, and many of you listening who grew up like me in the 80s or early 90s, sort of the elder millennials, or even, I guess, probably Gen Xers as well, to some degree, didn't hear their parents say things like, I love you, I'm proud of you, that type of thing with any regularity. It wasn't sort of a common thing. And for me, in particular, I didn't hear it much. Neither one of my parents had really what I would consider emotionally validating parents. And so they didn't really know that that was a thing that you could do, that parents said to their kids. And I distinctly remember as an adult, the first time I remember my dad saying he loved me. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I have a great relationship with both of my parents, and I love them both a great deal. And I knew intuitively that my parents loved me when I was a kid. So it's not like they were bad parents or anything. I just want to make that crystal clear. But one of the things that they didn't say often was, I love you. And the other thing they didn't say often or at all was that they were proud of me. Now, for a lot of kids, that might be fine. But I don't know if any of you have heard of, there's a book, I can't remember who wrote it. It's called The 5 Love Languages. And I don't know exactly about the merits necessarily of the author's overall premise. Maybe he's right, maybe not. But the gist of the book is that everyone experiences and expresses love differently, and everyone sort of receives it differently. By that I mean, if you do something for someone, that is how they know that you love them, that how they feel that you love them. And I trying to remember all of them. One of them is, it's like physical touch. Let's see, personal time or quality time, words of affirmation, gifts, and acts of service. That's it. So physical touch, I mean, come on, you know what that is. quality time is, well, exactly what it sounds like, spending quality time with someone. In other words, you spend quality time with people you love, or you want people, if people don't spend quality time with you, you don't think they love you. Acts of service is things like, breakfast in bed, cleaning up after them, doing the laundry, stuff that needs to be done. You take that burden and do that for them. And anyway, mine is words of affirmation. And what that really means is it's probably tied to my mental health issues in some way, and my sort of my sort of depression that has always been around, where I just assume sort of the worst about myself. But one way that for me is sort of absolutely necessary for me to like think people love me or like me is words of affirmation, i.e., literally saying the words "I love you" and that sort of thing. Complimenting me, but not in a flattery sort of way. But it's also, in some respects, for me anyway, and speaking solely as me, the way that like good managers can get, better work out of me is to just tell me, hey, you did great on that job and here's why, kind of thing. I work in a field that is famously known for not doing that. So partners very rarely give sort of that high quality, specific, positive feedback. Oh, I assure you they'll give negative feedback if you mess up. But if you do it right, that's just sort of your job. And so they're not going to specifically, say that you're doing a good job. Obviously, some people do it, but it's sort of a famous gap in how practice of law is frequently seen. So anyway, to go back to my main point, is that my parents never said they loved me or that they were proud of me in words. I am sure they did occasionally, but it didn't stick out in my head as that. And so, but my dad used to buy gifts all the time for us. That was sort of how he like expressed his affection for people, was he'd buy them things, buy them gifts, not in a buying your affection sort of way, but in a, I got you this gift that I bought specifically for you, and I know that you'll like it because I have spent time thinking about who you are as a person and what you like. So the gifts my dad gives have always been excellent. Case in point, and I know I'm a nerd, so just be ready. When I was in high school, one of my favorite Christmas presents was an HP 48G calculator. Yes, I know, I can hear all the groans now, except for the few people who know what that is and are thinking that that was an amazing gift. It's a graphing calculator, but it's not sort of the generic Texas Instruments one that every other kid had. The HP 48G was incredible. It also used reverse Polish notation, which I had to learn. Anyway, I still have that calculator. It's great. But my dad got that for me for Christmas, and it was great. Like, I loved it. And that's because he knew me, knew that I would appreciate it, knew that I would use it, and so it's that kind of thing that, that's the kind of gift he gives. But he's not, still isn't, a very emotional person for reasons that definitely are not mine to share in a public video, but he has good reasons. But accordingly, he never really said those words, which is fine. But I remember then as an adult, and I had already had kids. I mean, I was probably mid to late 20s when I had this conversation with my father. We had some, I'm trying to remember now exactly how it came up, but we had been having some difficulty. And it finally came to a head, and I just told him outright, like, hey, you never actually say these words. And so it's hard for me to understand or believe that you actually love me and are proud of me. And I realize this is sort of perhaps a little too maudlin for a video game video, but you know, bear with me here. He has a great ending. So anyway, I remember because he, you know, thought about it for a little bit. And then he started saying it. I mean, like he, you know, from then on, when I come to visit him, for example, because he now lives in Georgia and I live in Pennsylvania, when I come to visit, he always says he loves me. And he tells me he's proud of me. And I know he is, like, before, so it's not like he's lying about it. But now he knows that sort of I need to hear the words. And it was a very positive, I think, outcome of that conversation, because he took what I said to heart, and as someone who was, gosh, I don't know, late 50s, pushing 60 at that point, changed his behavior and changed the way that he interacted with me, having, well, lived with me, well, my entire life. And so it's pretty remarkable. But because of that, that's why, for example, I tell my kids all the time that I love them, that I'm proud of them, like every day, virtually. Not necessarily I'm proud of them every day, but anytime they do anything that is sort of worthy of that, I tell them because I think it's important. And I want them to never have to wonder. But I think it's important for everyone. Not if that, even if that's not your way of, you know, intuitively understanding or appreciating the way someone feels about you. I think that it's still important. So anyway, that's my very maybe depressing, maybe not, thoughts on interacting with kids and how we as adults should be interacting with our kids in a way, you know, to make sure that they grow up to be healthy, mentally stable, and mature adults. So that was totally unasked for parenting advice by Andrew, with a little bit of background as to why I believe that way. Okay, so if you were paying attention to what I was doing versus what I was saying, I am trying to get enough stuff to build an axe because my axe just broke. Aha, got my axe back. Okay, so now we can cut down this tree. So just to give you an idea of sort of what I'm working towards here. First, I'm going to build this food storage. Or I'm sorry, the resource storage, because then I can start putting things in it that... I'm going to see if there's anything of interest over here. There's not. I can put things in it more than in my house. So it's sort of the first step in having a functional home. And the one thing about... There we go, woodshed. The one thing about this game is the initial building just takes a lot of logs. And you only have so much storage space, so I only got essentially none. So almost my entire storage space is taken up by what I'm carrying. So getting enough wood takes multiple trips because I can only carry so much at a time. But eventually, you can get a little bit better at managing your inventory because A, you can carry more, and B, you have more storage so you can dump a lot more of your gear. And so you can basically drain yourself of everything and just carry back a ton of wood. Instead of having to get them like 2 or 3 logs at a time. But this is one of the, I don't know if it's criticism per se, but one of the things about this game that if you don't find the environment and sort of the mechanics of the game interesting, then you're really going to hate the way that you have to constantly it can feel very grindy. But for me, I kind of like the peaceful nature of just the game itself and the environment. So it doesn't bother me. I think I only need one more. Yeah. Okay. Almost done. All right, so for people who don't remember, oh, whoops. I forgot to get my skills. Let's see. Ah, yes, do that. Because that, again, like compound interest, getting it early means the more things you do, it just builds up faster. All right, what do I want to do? Do that first. Okay, so there, like I said, 4 seasons. Every season has 3 days. At least that's how the default setting is. You can change that, but that's the default setting. And so summer is when blueberries are around, and they are a great... Punching a tree. I am not Madison Cawthorn. At least I think that's who did that. Sorry, I'll try not to make political jokes. But that was low-hanging fruit. Okay. So, oops. Blueberries are out only in the summer, so you want to get a bunch of them so that you can... There we go. Okay, so now you see this has 1,000 kilos, So now I can put all of this stuff in here. That I don't need, and I can store it. Okay. There we go. That's a little better. Actually, let's take 2 of these because we're going to build some spears. Because until we get a bow, this is the way we hunt. All right, there we go. So now what we're going to do is go hunting. What we're going to try to do without dying, we'll see how I pull it off, is find a boar. So first what we want to do is see if we've seen a boar. So boars look like, well, boars. And so far it looks like we haven't seen any yet. So we gotta just wander the woods until we see one. So we can kill that guy, but if I threw a spear at it, it would just charge me, I think, and it would probably gore me. And I'd rather not get run over by that, if I can help it. So on the top left, you'll see as you like spot different types of animals, it tells you what you've seen, and then it remembers on the map. So now you can see the rabbits that we've seen. All right, so there's fox. So we have to eventually hunt 3 fox or 3 boar. Boars, I would imagine, have more meat. There's a deer. Oh, there's a fox. Ah, I got it before he... All right. Only 2 more to go. Oh, that's sad. I lost my spear. So I have 1 spear left. So what I want to do is make another spear, which uses a log. You would think a spear would be made out of a stick, but no. 1 spear made out of 1 log. Some of the crafting recipes are interesting, to say the least. All right, so let's make some spears, because you'll see that animals like the fox take multiple spears to kill, and when they run at you like that, well, let's just say you don't want to get bit by a fox. That reminds me, there was a video floating around a month ago, maybe, a rabid fox that attacks this woman, and it is wild. Yeah, all foxes are wild. Sorry, that's my dad joke for the day. Ah, see that one. See, there's my spear. So each hit takes 25% of its essentially durability off. So you can only use them so many times. Query why a hitting a fox would damage your spear, but whatever. Where am I? Alright, let's try to go up here. I want to show you a boar if I can. But if we can't, we'll just... Ah, so we made it all the way back to that village. We'll have to get some water soon. You can see down there every now and then it blinks red. Just say, hey, dummy, you need some water. Sooner rather than later. I'm just trying to explore areas that I haven't explored yet in the game to see if I can find a boar. And to see if I can kill one without dying. Aha! It says I've spotted a boar. So now the real question is, where did I spot it? I'm curious how the game triggers. I still haven't figured that out when you've spotted something. Because there will be times it... Ah, there we go. Yeah. Wow, that was really stupid. Well. Woo! Well, I told you I wanted to kill a boar without dying. I barely succeeded. Alright, so now we gotta head back to our home, which is here. So let's set a waypoint. You can see how far we are. But anyway, you noticed I almost died. Later in the game, you get bow and arrow, and you can hunt from a much higher distance than... spears. That's a shame. Let's see if we can kill one of these rabbits. So we can... There we go. Might as well get some meat. See the floppiness? The ragdoll physics are really stupid. Alright, so what we're going to do is head back. We don't yet have the ability to dry meat. Ooh, might as well get some from our trap, too. Alright, so I'll show you. We're going to cook some food. Fortunately, in your first house, one of the first things you can do is roast meat. So this is part of that grindiness that I was talking about. You can see, you just sit here and wait and hear the nice sizzle. It's kind of an interesting ambiance, I think. But I think this is probably good for this video. So just want to say, if you were watching, appreciate it. And hopefully it was enlightening and entertaining. And hope that you have a great rest of your week. And the next time we pick up this particular game, I'll have finished roasting. I won't make you watch it all. And we will start building towards actually recruiting some villagers, where the game adds a whole new level of complexity. So with that, I bid you adieu.